So James Chapman is a senior wealth advisor at our firm. He's our chief innovation officer. He has been with our firm for over a decade, and he serves successful individuals and families, specifically in our private wealth space, as well as our family office practice. Now, James is on our operating committee. He did serve as executive director for our foundation in the past, and he's also a board member of a Giving Heart Foundation. James holds a degree in finance from Illinois State University. He was chosen by Charles Schwab and Company to complete a year-long executive leadership program. Very few individuals were selected for that. He attended Wharton School of Business and completed the Behavioral Sciences Executive Education Program at the UCLA Anderson School of Management. It is my pleasure to welcome James.
Good morning, everyone. So as Katie said, my name is James Chapman. I'm a senior wealth advisor, but I'm talking to you today as our chief innovation officer. What we're talking about today is AI and capital management. AI is you can't go anywhere right now without hearing about AI. Whether you're watching the news or reading an article, everything seems to be about AI, but there's a lot of noise in the space. And so our job today is basically to help you cut through the noise, understand what it is that you need to be aware of it, understand what you need to not be doing, and then I want to, most importantly, share with you how we're actually going to be rolling out some new softwares to our clients here. So this is just a brief agenda. What is it? How might you use it? And then how we're going to be using it. So let's start with kind of like an AI 101. Here's what it is. A lot of people think that AI is a new concept. And it might seem like a new concept just because you're hearing about it more. You might be interacting with ChatGPT. But AI really is not a new phenomenon. It's just newly popular for the consumer use. But you've been using it in the background more than you might have actually realized. So it's been a part of your daily life, whether it's Siri on your iPhone, whether you're on Netflix and it's telling you what movies and shows you might like based off of what you've watched before, or actually my favorite example is the Google CAPTCHA. So for those of you who don't know what this is, think about when you're maybe on a new machine or logging into a new account or something like that, and it shows you 9 photos on your screen. It says, prove to us that you're not a robot. It says, click which photos contain a fire hydrant, or which photos contain a crosswalk. What you're doing in that moment is you are actually training AI. You're training the machine how humans think. And a lot of people don't know that that's actually what that whole process, that whole verification process is doing. So artificial intelligence is not actually intelligence. It's basically just software that's very good at mimicking human behavior, hence the Google CAPTCHA training that we are doing for the system. What it is not, though, is actual intelligence. Around the office, we like to think of it as like a junior analyst with a jetpack on. They're very excited, they got a lot of energy, they're very powerful, but they need a lot of guidance in order to actually get what you want to get out of it. So why are we talking about AI right now? 2 main reasons. AI requires a massive amount of data for it to really, really be good. So the more people feeding the machine, the more people feeding into AI, the more powerful it gets. But then what you really need for AI to actually be powerful is a lot of computing power. So computing power has never been more affordable than now. We've never had more data than now. So those 2 things coming together is why everyone is talking about AI. And then more importantly, perhaps, is that it has moved from behind the scenes with things like Siri or predictive text into more of a consumer-facing use like a ChatGPT, a Grok, or Perplexity, or whatever your favorite platform is. So speaking of the platforms, these are the top 10 platforms of AI that are out right now. Most of you probably heard of ChatGPT. That's the one that appears on the top of the screen. ChatGPT, just to kind of put this into scale, has over 350 million users a month. Last year, 2 years ago, we weren't even talking about ChatGPT. Most of us hadn't even heard of it, let alone now it having 350 million users. I'm guessing most of them some of them may be in this room. So that's kind of what AI is. That's kind of the general concept. But why are we talking about it today? As it has grown in popularity with this 350 million users on just that one top platform, not to mention there's over 50 other platforms in development right now, what we're finding is that people, not people in this room, but people are turning to AI to try to have it help them answering questions with investments or finance, personal finance, wealth management. And what we're finding is that, unfortunately, there are more and more stories emerging of just very bad examples of this occurring. So I went to Reddit. For those who don't know what Reddit is, it's basically like a massive online forum where you can talk to people about really anything. And I found this Reddit thread that basically people were posting in and basically like admitting mistakes that they had made it within AI, specifically within wealth management. So I put a couple of my favorite stories up here on the screen. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but the top example here, you had this individual go into ChatGPT, and they said, all right, Chat, build me a portfolio, build me an investment portfolio. It spit out a couple of ticker symbols, gave them some allocations, and thought, all right, good, I'm good to go. They pull open their Robinhood on their phone, and they tried to build the portfolio on their phone to actually invest in it. And what they found was over half of the ticker symbols that AI spit out to them didn't actually exist. They had been delisted from the exchanges. Obviously, that's a problem. And so this is kind of an example of you can't just take information directly out of AI and trust it as complete fact. There's always a trust but verify type situation. The next example, it was an entrepreneur, younger person, newer business. They had been making a lot of money, go you. But they wanted to lower their tax bill. Like all of us in the room, they wanted to do, how am I paying less taxes? So they went to AI, said, hey, here's my situation, here's what I'm looking to do, give me some advice. AI incorrectly advised that it would do basically a charitable gift through the business. The two problems, it used old tax code, and it didn't recognize that this was a business and not an individual person. This person ended up making a $50,000 tax mistake because they just blindly took the info out of the AI. Again, it's an extremely powerful tool with very good uses, but you cannot just be blindly taking information out of these systems. I'm not going to go through all of these, but here's the last point on this slide is probably the most important. A lot of people don't understand the company itself of ChatGPT, it's called open AI. It's an open system. The more people who are building information into it, entering information into it, the better it gets. But here's the problem. Once you put an information or a document or anything about you into these open systems, it's in there. There's no getting it out, and there's no knowing where it can go then once it's into an open system like that. So kind of an example of how to think about like what that would be. Think of AI as like a very, very smart parrot, okay? It's got a great memory. It can repeat things back to you. But once you say something to this talking bird, there's no knowing who else it's going to say it to, because once it's into the bird, once it's into the brain, there's no controlling where it goes. So this kind of just gets into some of the ethical and the risks of AI. It retains everything that you're putting into it. And so we do see people entering in personal information into these systems, not understanding the actual implications of that. People are uploading bank statements into ChatGPT and say, hey, analyze my spending. Please do not do that. They're uploading their tax returns with their social security numbers on it. Please do not do that. All of it is going to stay within the tool, and that is something that we are just heavily advising against. Just as a point of clarity as well, it is a Clearwater Capital policy, obviously, that we are never entering any client data into any of these open systems. So just know that is something that we have made an office-wide rule that is never going to be happening. We do use it. I'm going to share a little bit about how specifically we are using it, but we're not going to be using any of these open or publicly available systems that a lot of people do use. Now, you might think, all right, who's dumb enough to actually be doing this? A lot of people. So Cybespace is an organization. They did a survey of a bunch of different US office workers, and they found that 57% of the survey respondents basically said, yeah, you know what, I use AI in my office life, kind of day to day. That in and of itself, not that big of a deal. The bigger deal is the next stat. 64% of them admitted that they had entered in potentially sensitive work information or work files into these systems. There's a lot of business owners in the room. Imagine finding out that people on your team are taking potentially sensitive documents. And look, we're all for efficiency, but unknowingly putting them into these systems where they're just gone into the cybersphere. That's a little alarming. Kind of another funny stat here. Of the 64% of people that said that they did, there was another 28% of people that are like, I don't know, maybe. That tells me that they did. They're a little embarrassed to say it. So let's talk about how we actually are beginning to use this within real life client cases. There are things that AI is extremely good at and extremely efficient at. Number one, in terms of reviewing massive amounts of documents, I'm talking about hundreds of pages, AI is very, very good at that. Again, as I'm going to demo, in a closed system, not in a publicly available system like ChatGPT. I'll get into that a little bit later. So it's very good at flagging inconsistencies, saying, hey, this document over here said this, but over here it mentions this. This doesn't really line up. So it's very efficient at that. It's very good. Something this is hoping that we're going to be rolling out to the team a little bit later this year is drafting AI meeting notes from client meetings. Myself included, ask any of the advisors in the room, Probably what takes up most time in our day, besides actually sitting there meeting with clients, is all the meeting follow-up. All the notes, all the summaries back out to clients, initiating all the different tasks, whether it's to our portfolio management team, our planning team, whatever it may be. That takes hours of time, and that is something that AI really can gain a lot of efficiency in. So it enables us to operate faster, but most importantly, it gives us more time to give more face time with clients. So it's less hours I'm behind a computer and more hours that I'm in front of a client. That's a good thing if it's able to be done in a safe way. And just with this quote, there's a lot of debate in the industry. I just got back from Dallas, a big wealth management tech conference, and over the years it was always like, is it man or machine? I mean, are these going to come like take our jobs, things like that? I don't think the debate is correct. I think it's man with machine is really how these technologies do converge with people that are like us who are serving our clients in the room. So I'm going to go through a demo. I'm going to show you 3 different demos. First one's just kind of a basic, like, hey, here's what it can do. The second one's a little more interesting, and then the third one's probably the most important. That's an actual real-life demo of what we're going to be rolling out to clients. So this is ChatGPT. I assume most of you have probably played around with it, but if you haven't, I just want to put it up on the screen. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to ask ChatGPT, hey, describe to me any tax changes that have occurred that could potentially affect my investment portfolio. So right here, I'm going to hit enter. Eventually, I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to go out, and you're going to see it reading thousands and thousands of articles, thousands of pages of tax legislation to basically begin to come up with a summary of what I asked it to go fetch. The amount of information that it is reviewing right now is more than any of us in the room combined could be doing in the amount of time that we have up on the screen. So then you see it's organizing it in a way that it knows that I like to take information in an outline format. So you see, okay, net investment income tax has changed, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act has changed. This is a pretty fair and good use of AI right here in terms of what you guys could be doing with it today if you're curious and want to kind of play around with it from a research perspective. But even in the office, even me, I wouldn't take any of this and just blindly take it as truth. I'm going to be connecting back with our CPAs that we have in the office to say, hey, here's what AI said. Is this legit? Does this check out with your understanding of it? Trust but verify. That is with all things AI, trust but verify. Next demo, it's kind of a little bit more fun, maybe a little bit less practical, but just to show you the power of what this is able to do. I went into the system and said, hey, take everything that you know about Clearwater Capital Partners and generate an image for me of what you think that our offices might look like in 2055. Katie just showed you our office expansion. Obviously, it's kind of top of mind right now. So right now, it's actually researching Clearwater Capital, taking everything it knows, and generating an image of what it thinks our futuristic office might look like. Obviously, you can see this takes much more computing power than just like a basic research function. So I'll go ahead and fast forward. This is what it came up with. So you see, it got our logo right. We have AI assistants over here, market data, the Cyber Intelligence Center. My personal favorite, somehow picked up on supercars that we have down in our basement here. And I mean, this is just crazy. And I know it's a little bit less practical, but it literally just made this image from that prompt just here. I did another one just for fun. You can see I like this one a little bit more. Logo's not quite as right. I do like that the supercars, though, they left the garage, and they're now in our lobby. So thinking maybe next office expansion, we maybe build in a car elevator. That might be kind of neat for the car show. All right, so let's get real here. So we've spent months and months of due diligence investments meeting with basically all the top AI players that are in this space right now, because there are different platforms that are emerging. We put innovation at such the forefront of our focus of what we're doing for those of you in this room. We always want to be the most cutting edge. So we knew AI was not something that we could ignore. We knew that AI was something that we should be embracing, but embracing in the right way. So after months of development, we are proud to announce that we are going to be rolling out our own AI platform with the collaboration of a company called Vanilla. The focus of this platform, as it stands right now, we're just at the spear of this right now, is going to be focused on estate planning. And I think there's probably an estate planning attorney or two in the room. Let me make it very clear. It is not our desire to be estate planning attorneys. That is their profession, just like the same way we don't want to be CPAs. But what this does is this enables us to be much more efficient with our clients in understanding what their estate plan says. So then they're able to then go back, interface with the attorney on a much more efficient basis and not taking hours of going through 100-page documents. What this is going to look like, most importantly, this is a closed AI environment that we've invested in. So this is not the Wild West that I kind of described at the beginning of my talk. where you're entering information and it's gone as quickly as you put it in. This is our own closed AI environment. It did take a pretty tremendous investment to get it up and running, but it's up and running. So rest assured, any client data that we're putting into the system, it stays within our closed system and it is not out into the cybersphere. But here's what it's going to be able to give us. It's going to be able to give us plan snapshots of your estate plan, different waterfall diagrams, which I'll show, overview diagrams, and probably my favorite thing that it does is it is able to very quickly identify red flags within the documents. Most people haven't updated their estate plans in years, and that's fine. That's what we're here for, to be prompting you to making sure it's up to date. But within those documents, there can be potentially massive red flags that could lead to these documents being completely invalid. AI is really good at flagging some of those red flags. So I'm going to put a summary up on the screen here. We've probably done estate plan reviews for some of you guys in the room, and let me just tell you, practically speaking, what that has looked like before this new platform. Depending on what your estate looks like, it could be a 20-page trust document, or it could be a 200-page trust with sub-trust, things like that. We're basically printing out all these pages, locking ourselves in our office with a highlighter, and going through it page by page and trying to understand what the different trusts say, and then articulating it back to you. It's an extremely long process, because obviously reading 200 pages is not a quick thing. But it's also, admittedly, it is prone to human error, because markets are moving, phones are ringing. I mean, it's what life comes at us as we're trying to do this. So this is a much better way for us to be doing these estate reviews for those of you in the room. So this is actually what it looks like. I'm glad we have a big screen because you can actually see it here today. So basically what this looks like, and this is not a real client case, by the way, so don't worry, you're not going to see your name up on the screen. We put up an estate plan document, a combination of different documents into the system. It gave us some key provisions. It called out the specific family members and kind of built out a little bit of a family tree. We have the fiduciaries here on the bottom of the screen. It brings us through the asset distribution types, and probably my favorite part of this specific report are the observations that are on the bottom. Observations is basically just a polite way to say, like, hey, things that could go completely wrong. I'm not sure if you can read it, but it talks about specific things like, hey, there's some uneven distributions among the different children within this trust. That might be something to be aware of. It calls out specific things that are red flags that are very easy ways to have good talking points with our clients to say, hey, you know what? Are you aware that within the trust there's this provision that could potentially cause a little bit of friction? It's an extremely efficient way for us to be delivering this information back to clients, because what we found, the estate planning process can be cumbersome, and it needs to be drawn out because there's so many important decisions that go into it. But sometimes clients don't actually understand what their trust documents actually say. So to have a summary like this and be able to have that conversation is a massive upgrade for those of you in the room. This is the plan snapshot. This basically is almost kind of like a web diagram of the different documents that would be in place and how they're connected and then who the relevant parties are. Not to be morbid, but it is estate planning. It kind of shows after death of the first one, after death of the second one, and how things split out. This is a really helpful way just to kind of get a quick visual of what your trust actually says. This is the waterfall chart, and this is where we actually begin to assign dollar amounts into this system. One of the things that took a long time to develop, but I'm super glad that we did, is this system now integrates directly into our portfolio management system. So all the publicly traded investments that live within these trust structures of our clients, all this is being updated real time to what the account values actually hold that we're managing for you. And so all these numbers are able to be updated real time as we're going through this. And one thing to point out on this report, most of you have been in our office, you've met in our media room, you've seen the different interactive reports. This is going to be one of those interactive reports. So you see the different buttons up here on the side. All of this is able to be manipulated and shown to you in different views, and it's actually really slick once it's actually up, like when you're in the system. This is the estate diagram. Again, this is just a really helpful way to get a visual of exactly how things are laid out, because sometimes when you see it on paper versus reading it, on page 45 of the document, you begin to think about it a little bit differently. And we've made these for clients in the past. Some of you may have seen something similar to it before. I'm not embarrassed to admit we've probably spent way too much time trying to make sure like the little orbs are lining up and connecting the line. This was all done in PowerPoint and Excel leading up to this point. This is a way better way for this to be working. For clients with more complex balance sheets, I'm glad to say we have left Excel in the past, and we are finally having a true AI platform to be building out some of these more complex balance sheets, also within a system that's built into our portfolio management system as well. So all this is real time. But this is a really nice layout of showing more of a complex balance sheet inside the estate, outside the estate. You can see we can sort by asset liability type, liquidity, different types of liquidity. This is a really good way to facilitate these conversations in our office with a tool that we've never been able to show it this efficiently before. And again, this is all back to that AI platform that we're launching. This is by far my favorite thing that this system can do. So when I demoed ChatGPT earlier and asked the tax question, that was basically using like the entire internet as its data set to answer that question. With this system, again, closed system, secure, we're able to upload all of your estate documents, and that becomes our data set, and then we get to actually ask questions of it. So I'm able to go in here and basically talk to your estate plan and say, hey, what would happen in this type of scenario? And it will go through the trust and say, hey, in this scenario, here's exactly what would happen. And then I can actually talk with your estate plan. It's a tool that we've never had before. And as an advisor, as someone who sits in the room with you guys as we're going through this, it's extremely helpful. And then what's also cool too, trust but verify, it goes, hey, here's the answer. Here's what would happen in that situation. But let me show you where it says that. And then it will show you exactly what part of the trust it's actually able to say that. It's a very efficient tool, and it's a very quick way for us to help sit down with you guys and answer questions about your trust and just make sure that it says exactly what it needs to say for the life that you guys want to live. I'm going to end with this quote. You guys, most of you, in probably the last 5 or 6 years we've done these presentations, you've heard my dad say this quote. It's my turn now to say it. Change has never before happened this fast and will never again move this slowly. We've put a tremendous emphasis on innovation for those of you in this room. We embrace technology. We take it head on. We want to do so in the right way, in the safe way. But we're not hiding behind our desk with these new tools coming out. We want to be the first ones to be bringing them out to our clients. We know that all of you in this room trust us with your wealth, and we want to make sure every single one of you have the best tools available, and that is very much what this is an example of. This is just the beginning. I can't wait to see what we have to roll out for you guys next year, but this is something that we are super, super excited about. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention again. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us. I'm going to turn things back over to Katie, and she'll take us from there. Thank you.